Welcome everybody, what a great weekend of rugby. I'm here with Craig Lewis, senior writer with SA Rugby, and everybody tells me when I get it wrong, so I thought we'd do a show and just sort of talk through what we got right this weekend, because we didn't get anything wrong from what I understand.
Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend, just generally of high quality rugby. It was the Ireland-England Test match was some of the best rugby I've seen in an international game for quite some time. It was really physical, really intense, and England kind of came out of nowhere, produced such a great performance. I mean, they were miles ahead at the end of the game. It was really impressive.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I think that if anybody watched beyond a minute of our video, and I know I waffle on, but you know, in there was a lot of good tips. One was I said that England would win the Six Nations this year. Obviously, they play Wales away, and now they've got the 3 easiest games in the tournament coming up. They took that at 3-1 for our fund. I also said that England would be the top try scorers and that they get the most points. I never expected them to get 33 points in Dublin.
Yeah, I think we've got to also just see as it goes. I mean, they're still going to play France on Sunday. It's one of the big games as well coming up. I think in that context of the campaign ahead, that's another huge game. And then Scotland play Ireland on Saturday, and seeing how Ireland respond after their big upset in Dublin is also going to be key, probably, to how the log looks at the end of the game.
Did you obviously, I think no one out there would say that England were going to win by 13 points. Yeah. You know, my bet was England to probably one of the best bets of the season. I think I mentioned in the video that England would not lose by 9 or more points, and they may well win, which they did, obviously. Yeah. They just outclassed Ireland in so many facets of the game. They looked strong, they looked great. Ireland probably off the boil a bit, but I think there was too much expectation on Ireland, to be honest. You know, the England team of last year, you can't really compare that to the team that's reasonably fit this year. Yeah. It's a completely different proposition, it looks like.
Yeah, I think, you know, for Ireland as well, suddenly they've been talked up. Steve Hansen has called them the #1 team in the world currently. Then Eddie Jones did the same thing to them. So, you know, it's kind of getting put on a pedestal, and when you're chasing that #1 status, then suddenly you've kind of been given that tag. It's a bit more difficult to play under that pressure. And it looked like a team playing under pressure, and they weren't themselves. And then England kind of were lying in wait and ambushed them with a really physical approach. And the defence was outstanding, suffocated them, and then pounced on opportunities when they came on attack. And they were really clinical in terms of finishing off opportunities when they got them. Some of their attacking kicks were fantastic, and they were just miles ahead of Ireland, the far better team on the day. And they've, yeah, like we've said, set themselves up now for England to be the Six Nations champs when they're absolutely nowhere last year.
Yeah, and again, me being Welsh, I said that prediction was a horrible thing for me being a Welshman. And in the Wales game, you got it spot on. You said Wales by 5.
I'm picking Wales, but also by a small margin. And
I said I wasn't going to touch the game, so well done for picking the exact margin. Uncanny, but then you are the senior sports writer for SA Rugby, so it should be expected. What a great comeback by Wales, 16-0 down. I didn't see a way back in it for them. Pissing down rain all game in France, in Paris. I thought there wouldn't be 16 points scored in the second half. Wales came out and scored 25 points, I believe. Yeah,
just somewhere in that margin, even, you know, like you say, that I certainly wasn't thinking my prediction was going to be spot on at half time. It looked like France were, you know, going to easily finish off that game in those conditions and get the result. But they did concede a couple of soft tries, allowed Wales back in. But that's also just, you know, what Wales can do. And we were chatting last week about how they've really improved as a team. We saw that France have also really improved, and nothing clearly separates Ireland and England, even though the scoreboard showed England to be the better team. So I mean, you're seeing that they're 4 Northern Hemisphere teams that are quality outfits heading towards the World Cup. And as we also were saying, it's going to be a competitive World Cup. It's been proven on the opening weekend of the Six Nations.
Yeah, for sure. And what it leads to, Craig, I think, is a great touch wood. Leads to a great end of the Six Nations with the potential set up for an England-Wales game. Such is the occasion that if it gets to that, they're playing for a Grand Slam, Triple Crown, and the whole kit and caboodle. I'll probably have to catch a flight over to Cardiff to cheer on the boys, you know. the prospects are mouthwatering for that.
Yeah, sure.
But what a great weekend in Six Nations, and let's chat about the spectacle that was played at the Cape Town Stadium.
Yeah, I just thought it was a great event actually. The people that I got to the stadium, the Sharks Lions first game, which was a bit of a scrappy game, but as the game went on, it got better, and so the stadium started filling up ahead of the Stormers Bulls game. And I think the greatest takeaway from that was just how well the Stormers played. It wasn't their full strength team. The Bulls picked a lot of Springboks, and yeah, the Stormers were really impressive. They played a great brand of rugby. The intensity for warm-up game was right up there, and the stadium was nearly full by that point. The atmosphere was incredible. I think just as a whole spectacle, double-header, people got really great value for money. The entertainment was there. The action was really great. I think it was just a really fun day. Kind of got people interested in, and that's so important before the Super Rugby kicks off again. People have been talking about a declining product. I think that gave it a really good boost a couple of weeks away before the first few games.
Well, it was a brilliant bit of marketing, I think, by SuperSport and Marvel and the unions to take a leap of faith on this, because for an exhibition game, I'd been called 3-4 times before the game for tickets. For an exhibition game, I mean, no one's ever called me. People don't call me for buck games anymore. So I was blown away. I mean, my first reaction was, "You want tickets for the weekend?" But I mean, a lot of people came down for the experience, and I think that anybody going to Cape Town Stadium and watching a game there, it's just a different experience.
Yeah.
It's a match day experience, and I think it's another nail in the coffin for Newlands. You're right. I think the brand of rugby the Stormers played surprised a lot of people, and maybe maybe Theo Wakefield was a genius in going for youth. The big problem with the Stormers, and I think that the Paul Truth thing is not going to go away. It's starting to blow up, and I think it's going to blow up more. Yeah. My personal opinion is that what's he ever accomplished? For him to be even talked about as running rugby at Western Province is ridiculous. You've got a lot of young talent there that want to know what the direction the team's going to take, because after the World Cup, a lot of those guys are marketable overseas. Yeah. And Western Province really needs to step up and make a decision, because you've got the amateur arm running rugby at Western Province, and the days of amateur people running rugby should be over.
I mean, I think you're just getting very clearly two factions butting heads, not able to find a middle ground, and that's causing just a real divide along along leadership and political lines in that union, and it's really difficult for the players as well. I mean, I know that. I mean, imagine being a player, suddenly you're hearing things in the background about infighting, pay cuts. You don't know who your coach is going to be next year. How do you make decisions, informed decisions about your future, your career, whether you stay at a union or whether you look abroad after a World Cup? And naturally, you would go, okay, well, if all this is happening, it's a toxic environment. Surely you look elsewhere, and that's the biggest problem. The players are what should be a really strong franchise, and we saw again on Sunday showcase what an incredible fan base they have. How the Stormers are not really a successful product, it's a really big indictment on that whole setup.
It's a sad indictment. It's time for Zelt to step up, make some tough decisions, and do what Theo Wakefield couldn't do, lead. But
in a sense, I gather that's what he's trying to do, but he's backing Paul True by the sounds of it, and that's a difficult one, because he's clearly, I don't know Paul True well enough to know if he is a divisive figure that he seems to be spoken of being. But I mean, a couple of colleagues who I chatted to have said, in a sense, he can be likened to the way John Mitchell was at a point where he wasn't the best man manager, and John Mitchell went through a kind of a period where he needed to take himself out of the kind of rut he was in terms of the way he dealt with people, and his he had a kind of line drawn in the sand in terms of how he would treat people and the coach he was. He went away from from that sort of environment, took on a bit of learnings, took some advice from respected people, and that enabled him to come back a better coach, a better man manager, and that seems to be the shortfall with True, and it's clearly also got the players to form an opinion on him. So it's a very tricky one.
Yeah, it's not one I want to be involved in, but at some stage someone's got to make a call. And if there's a revolt at the Stormers, then you just got to go through it.
Yeah.
But I got a feeling that this thing is going to take many columns in the newspaper over the next little while.
And we're seeing one thing after another. We saw on Sunday reports about the board the executive committee overruling a board decision to implement an exit strategy for True. So essentially you've got the amateur arm undermining the professional arm, or the business wing. It's a big problem.
Yeah, so the takeaway there, amateur rugby running professional rugby.
Yeah.
Unbelievable in this day and age. So next week we've got more games. We'll chat about that. We're going to wrap this up because the attention span of people is so diminished now that I think if we get to 10 minutes, then or if we get to 1-2 minutes, people sort of tune out. But check out our videos and see what we got right, which was everything on the past weekend. And well done on your selection for Wales. Great call. And maybe you're a lucky talisman for Wales. So I'm going to have you on every week.
Cool.
Thanks, Craig. Cheers, guys.